but this retreat ought to be fun. There's a raw food retreat, and then there's a silent retreat. The silent retreats are fun because you're learning a lot about contemplation and meditation, and of course everything is silent. And the more silent you are, the more inward you go, the more awake you become. You remember I told you my spiritual master at the time, Fubi Quantz, once said, he said to me, stop talking and stop thinking, and there's nothing you won't know. And I already knew about the now, and I just rang so true. When you stop thinking and stop talking, you just expand. You just start expanding into consciousness, and you start seeing everything and how it's put together. Everything starts coming to you because you now are becoming part of the one again. So it's exciting, to see this. So finally we have at least one retreat there. We're working on a healing retreat up here in Sarasota or somewhere here in Florida. We've got the RD people. We have a lot of retreats for the States here, but for other countries we want to set up retreats, raw food retreats where we have talks and interactions. These retreats are fun. 3-day retreats, 4-day, 5-day retreats are always a lot of fun. Different speakers, a lot of spirituality, a lot of good organic raw foods. And by the way, we also have a raw food co-op that you can order foods on. I didn't get that information to show you and share you, but it'll be up on the website as well. But my dear friend Ronnie, look at what he's done. So now we have a place that you can order. You can set up co-ops, or you can order by mail raw organic fruits and berries and melons and things like that, produce. And so that's great. Few places now do that anymore, but having that level of good food is good to have, So exciting stuff out there. I even met a woman that introduced me to her man. She found her man on our dating site and was just, they definitely bonded well. I thought that was really cool, finding like-minded people. This is this exciting future for the growth that you guys are showing out in the world and what's going on. Some of these people that are supposed to lose limbs and all this are not doing that anymore. Those who are dying are not dying. Those who are crippled are becoming uncrippled. What's that, guys? That is great work on your part. You guys are incredible. And so I'm so excited for the future in each and every way. Keep going after yourselves and your friends. Let's turn this world around and become brothers of love and peace and joy and happiness. Those that want to be constipated, let them be constipated. Well, I wanted to do this video on blood sugar issues because keep it simple. Let's keep all things simple because it's a lot better. And if you put the whole concept of diseases, that you catch something and you put that away for a minute and you realize that this world is simply cause and effect. For everything that goes out, it comes back. Isaac Newton, for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction, physics. For Jesus said, you reap what you sow. Buddha simply said, karma, same thing. You experience what you create. And if you're pulled into others, you can experience what they create on top of that. So pretty soon, you're losing the self and getting lost in the world of creation. So let's stop and take a look at blood sugar issues. There's only basically 2 of them. So let's take a look at them simplistically and not as diseases. Let's call them blood sugar conditions. Let's look at what they refer to as type 2. Okay? Type 2, that is sugar metabolism problems. Now, the body comes packing with kidneys and adrenal glands, right? We know, we've talked extensively about the function of the kidneys, although there can be a lot more. We know that it is the main lymphatic organs of elimination, as well as some blood purification. However, the blood tends to use the spleen to clean itself over the kidneys, simply because it can refurbish the red blood cells and everything else within the spleen. It has a connection to the whites, the reds, and the platelets, and the lymphatic system. So the spleen is a major dual dual organ in that respect, lymphatic and blood. But for the blood's purpose of cleansing and refurbishing, that's the organ. But it can dump some in the kidneys, some of its waste. But the kidneys are tied exclusively, or a big part of it, most part of it, to the lymphatic vessels. And vital, but so is the skin. So when the skin and kidneys go down, you start seeing, if you had eyes to see within the kidneys, you would see the same thing that you see on the skin in psoriasis and all these other things. Acidosis and the stagnation of the fluids of the kidney. And so what you get is inertia. You get the lack of filtration, the lack of the ability of cellular waste to be eliminated properly through the skin and kidneys. When that happens, you're going to see symptoms. You stop a sewer system from eliminating acidic waste, protein waste, you're not only going to stink, but you're also going to develop inflammation, the body's ability to fight that which you are allowing to accumulate in the human body. This is all done out of ignorance for sure. Well, one of the first organs affected by man's high-protein diets, and this has been going on since way back, since man left the islands and went into the northern climates and didn't become cave dwellers or this dweller. They're not all cave dwellers. We went into higher protein diets for survival modes because we'd have nothing to survive outside of the tropics. We are not designed for that, except up here and what we can create to keep warm. Kill other animals with their skin and we'll use their skin. So it's enough to say that it's important to realize that high protein diets have damaged the human body for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. Proof of that is all the studies they've done. There's been so many. Last year from the World Health Organization itself. Amazing that an organization like that would come out with some truth, but I'm glad they do. And so it comes packing. But they focused on the gut tissue, the GI tract tissue, and why it's been number one in cancers now that lung has moved past it. But why? And high acidosis, high protein diets destroy the body. This sets up acidosis. Our body's not developed like a cat body. A true carnivore has no rings, has a smooth bowel, real short, and the hydrochloric acid is high. Closer to 1 as opposed to 2. So a big difference in these levels of acids and that sort of thing, of pH factors, in all ways. In all ways. Studying the pH factor of duodenal juices and everything else is another important factor in determining species. If you don't know what species the human belongs to, you're lost, because then you don't know the dietary needs of that species. So wouldn't it be kind of important to understand what species your physical human body belongs to? Man is just like, huh? And it's like, excuse me, we only look like one, primates, and that's really, we're of another species, higher evolved than the primates. No offense to the primates, we don't act it, but primates act a lot better than we do. We kill each other, blow each other up, and the kids and the women with it. I mean, that's lower. That's real low stuff. If you're mad at your governments, go after the government. Don't go after the kids and the children and the people. Go after the people that do it to you. Don't go after the innocent. Just because they're convenient, that shows you have no backbone. If you got a backbone, you're going to go right to the people that are causing the problems. So when you start to break down these tissues with high proteins, what they're not understanding is, look at all the kidneys. Matter of fact, when you all start looking at kidney problems, it's everywhere. Everywhere. Kidneys, lower back, L4, L5 down, the bladders, the prostates, the ovaries, the uterus. Look at how they're all going down. Look at all the inflammation and cancers, meaning extreme acidosis of these tissues. Full of cysts and tumors, and it's the high protein diets. brings these tissues down, sets up an acidic medium within the human body. Well, that's on top of all the acids that are created from metabolism, respiration, ionization, oxidation. All these acids that are created have to go somewhere on top of the dietary acids coming in. It's no wonder your body's ravished of calcium and emaciated. And then when you go to start fixing yourself, everybody starts bitching. Oh, look how thin you are, and look how bad you are. Oh, really? Well, take a look at what they were before that. You've got to fix their vehicles. And this is vital that people understand this. Because the car's in the shop. And then you young guys and gals that are working on yourselves, tell your parents, your car's in the shop. Learn what I have to go through to get myself well. You didn't help me, and now I'm helping myself. You're stuck with allopathic thinking. You're stuck with ignorant thinking. And none of it has yielded you any help and never will, because it's suppressive thinking. As long as you do not understand acidosis and the lymphatic system, you're coming from a high position of ignorance. And coming from that position hurts and kills an awful lot of people. And you don't have to come from that position, because we already are coming from the position of knowledge. If you want science to catch up, then catch up with us when you can. We're already proving it in clinical practice. We're already proving it. You don't have to prove it in labs or anything. We're already proving it in humans, in vivo. We don't need test tubes. We have humans. We can take an emaciated quadriplegic and build them and get them out of a chair. Can you? You can on your current theories of high proteins and acidosis. That's the very things that exacerbates their weakness. So if you want to get well, or your parents want you well, people have to understand this just a little bit. You don't have to understand massive chemistry. Just understand that chemistry has two sides to it, and you need to know both sides and what the effects of each side can bring you. And if you're sitting on the acid side and you get burnt, don't bitch. The acid side burns and rips you apart. That's why in chemistry we call acids corrosive. Chemists name it corrosive. And when we need corrosive, taking fingernail polishes off or toenail polishes, yeah, you can stick your feet in the creek of Gatlinburg, or you can get acetate or acetone. They strip. These solvents strip things. And solvents tend to be a little more on the acid. Look at water, the universal solvent tends to be slightly on the acid side, because it's 2 atoms of hydrogen and only 1 of oxygen. So, when we start to break down our kidneys, there's a little gland on top of the kidneys called the adrenal glands. And your adrenal glands, you must get with the adrenal glands, each and every one of you. Get a book at the Books A Million or one of the big popular books places. Just get a little book for A&P, Anatomy and Physiology. Easy reading. Get it for idiots. A&P for idiots. And it just talks about the different body parts. You can't always believe what they say, because they're coming from an allopathic position of ignorance. But understand a little bit what body parts do. Most importantly, look at the adrenal glands. They not only control the kidneys and the sodium-potassium pump, which is how how the cell wall permeability is involved. In other words, moving nutrition through or across the cell membrane wall. The factor of pH of that and how the sodium-potassium pumps works with that. There's so much to learn in that way, but you don't even have to know that. What you only have to know that the adrenal glands produces over 50 steroids, and every one of them come from cholesterol and other factors. You have a division. The adrenal glands has 2 parts to it. The inner part is the medulla, produces your neurotransmitters that runs the autonomic nervous system, particularly the sympathetic. Then you have the cortex of the adrenal glands, the outer part of the adrenal glands, producing your corticosteroids. Corticosteroids are mainly antacids or anti-inflammatories, except for the gonadals, which are your estrogens, your testosterones, your aldosterones. These are your acidic steroids. Wherever you have an acidic steroid, you have a base steroid as its partner. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, progesterone. testosterone, estrogen are your acidic steroids, minor acidic steroids. They're not real hot. And then you've got your corticosteroids, which neutralizes them. In other words, you ladies are a good example of how chemistry works. As you see your menses coming on, that is an estrogen experience. That is an acidic experience. It dilates your capillaries. It creates bleeding in the uteri. It is a cleansing mechanism. Bloodletting is cleansing. And it's cleansing because blood is alkaline or base chemistry. The only other way you can be is acidic. There's only two sides of chemistry. When the uterus is acidic, you start seeing endometriosis, uterine fibroids, you start seeing atypical cells on the vaginal wall, and you start seeing ovarian cysts. For the male side, you start seeing prostatitis and gonadal or testicle enlargement, hypertrophy. So these are all signs of acidosis. And of course, acids then, when they become in the cell, intracellular acidosis, that's when you can pretty much label that a cancer cell, because mutation is simply the death of the cell. And acids is what is corrosive. The base site is what rebuilds. And these are just, keep it simple. Keep all this simple, because there's no need to getting complex. Because the average person can't understand complexity. Why talk over people's heads for? The whole idea is to get people to understand truth, not to talk over their heads. That's ego. So, it's important to understand that there is a steroid involved, and everybody's familiar with it, cortisol. Cortisol is also used as an antacid. So is progesterone. Any corticosteroid that is cholesterol-based can be used as an antacid. So, here's an example. Oh man, I got a pain in my shoulder, Mr. Medical Doctor. What is it? What can I do it? Well, I don't know. It could be autoimmune. I don't know. You got pain there. I don't see anything. Probably nothing. But let me give you a shot of cortisol. Oh, okay. But isn't my adrenal glands produce that? And shouldn't my adrenal glands be protecting me from this? Isn't this acidosis? So that's what you have to get at. You have to understand when you have pain what side of chemistry you're on and how does the body deal with that. And cholesterol is one of the big ways that the body deals with that through corticosteroids. If your corticosteroids are low, then cholesterol directly, or it's going to suck calcium. Anything base is up for grabs when you're acidic. And calcium and cholesterol are your two greatest acid fighters in the body, or neutralizers. Well, cortisol just happens to be involved in sugar metabolism. And when you don't metabolize your sugars, then you have to have that. And by the way, the same thing is true with minerals. Iron, zinc, selenium need mineral corticosteroids. There's a steroid for all your minerals except calcium, which is a parathormone out of the parathyroid gland. So when you're not metabolizing, you say, well, I've got deficiency in zinc, I'll have all the symptoms. Well, you don't know that until you fix your adrenal glands, because the problem in 9 times out of 10 are in the adrenal glands or malabsorption, or in most cases both, because you cannot have malabsorption without having adrenal gland weakness. That's the kicker. You cannot have that. You cannot have malabsorption and have healthy kidneys, filtering kidneys and adrenals, because that's the problem of malabsorption. But it's also the problem of blood sugars. Now, since it's sugar metabolism, it doesn't matter what sugar you eat, you're not going to metabolize it. It can be simple fruit sugar, it can be simple glucose, it could be your dye and polysaccharides like sucroses and maltoses and dextroses. You're going to have a lot of trouble with the multiple sugars. But with your simple sugars of glucose and fructose and maybe galactose, you're going to have blood sugar problems, but you'll have the least amount of blood sugar problems. If you have a lot of adrenal problems, you might see your blood sugars go way up. But as a rule, if you stay on raw foods, your blood sugars should stay anywhere between 150 to 200. We don't give insulin for any blood sugars below 200, nor would I recommend it at all. Matter of fact, I recommend if you're asymptomatic with it, you push it a little bit and fix this problem. Because if you ever put on insulin, they just did you a bad favor. Insulin is a hormone, and when you start taking, a good example is Marcy. She gets almost off, but she's still fighting the consciousness of 35 years on a hormone. 35 years on a hormone just weakens the cells that produce it down to nothing. When you're on insulin for 25, 30 years and then you come off and you expect your body to produce it, you're gravely mistaken. And so are they. So, when you take a look at this, your cortisol levels are low. So whenever you have type 2, your adrenal glands are down and you have to fix it. But this also brings all the other symptoms you see with type 2s, your gangrenes, your systemic acidosis, your skin problems. They say, oh, that's part of diabetes. That's the ignorance of allopathic thinking. They want to lump everything under disease, call it autoimmune problem, because diabetes is an autoimmune problem like cancer. Wait a minute. Everything can't be autoimmune. But you start to realize that's a statement from a position of unawareness or ignorance. There's tissues and cells involved in all of this. So very important to remember the adrenal glands, because as we move to type 1, I still want you to remember the adrenal gland connection to this. Remember that the adrenal glands produces neurotransmitters for the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system has two sides to it, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. They both come together in the gut. One goes one way, one the other. They come together in the back of the head with the optic nerve, the cerebellum, and this is your worker bee. When you want to fight or you want to run, you want that system working good. The other, of course, is the central nervous system. Now, so you fix your adrenal glands, you simply fix your blood sugar problem. Now, what could bring the adrenal glands down? What could make it weak? Well, you've got genetics. Okay, all right, I have a weak genetic adrenal gland. I am underproducing cortisol. Who made that weakness in the first place, and how did they make it? You see, whenever you look at genetics, if you're talking about genetic weaknesses, because genetics can also be genetic strengths. Genetics doesn't always mean weaknesses, but if you're in a genetically weakened area, then you're looking at an area that was weakened by the lymphatic system, really by the blood. You can have an area of trauma that never healed and conceived during that, and absolutely that would do it. You could have a car accident in an area that doesn't heal, have a baby, have that same, because the consciousness of the cell, this is real time. So at the time of conception, it is my opinion that the consciousness of the cells in your body are past. And that includes weaknesses, strengths, trauma, all of this kind of stuff, pain. So real important to understand that. Of course, you guys at level 1, you get to learn about how the God worlds are put together. You get to learn why cells have memory, why you have phantom limb syndromes, why genetics, you have all this. And it gives you a big step up in understanding how the body works and how this world works. It's not good always coming from a position of ignorance, because that puts you in a very inferior position and you can hurt yourself with that. Or quite frankly, allow someone else to hurt yourself from that. So it's always the lymph system that's the problem, and you're always going to go after the lymphatic system in all these conditions, including blood sugar problems, any type of hormone steroid problems, neurotransmitter problems, tumors, inflammatory issues, which is really just extreme acidosis. You're always going after the lymphatic system, because all you have in your body is a bunch of cells that form organs and glands and the pipes that get blood and lymph to them and from them. Because cells are just like you. They have to eat and poop. So cells have to eat and poop. You have to have a kitchen and a bathroom, and that's all your body is. Plus you have an electrical department that turns on the lights. So you have 3 main energy flows of the human body: blood, nerve, and lymph. And any of those become obstructed, dis-ease or symptomology of an unwanted kind is your experience. And you can see which one is which. When you block off the blood supply to cells, see you later cells. What about the nerve supply? Nobody's doing nothing. We ain't going anywhere, and you start seeing your body mutate. You get to the point you can't even talk anymore. You can't walk, can't move, can't breathe. Everything's a neurological event. And then, of course, lymphatically speaking, pain, swelling, the crippling, breaking down, the emaciation. I can go on and on and on. Everything's up for grabs with that. So type 2, much easier as a rule, because when you get type 1s, they're more focusing that on genetics. Well, maybe so in one stance of the word. Let's look at type 1s for a minute. Type 1 is simply insulin problems. The inability of the beta cells of the pancreas. The pancreas has the islets of Langerhans, which are a part of the pancreas that has what we call the beta or B cells there, the beta cells. These beta cells produce insulin. Insulin is a hormone carrier, so the cell wall can identify it not as a protein, but as a hormone carrier and pull it through the wall and allow it then to be turned to ATP, ADP, or AMP. That's adenosine triphosphate, adenosine diphosphate, and adenosine monophosphate, which are your electricity, your energy, your batteries to the cell. And that's carbon and oxygen. Hydrogen yanked out, that's a universal acid. And now you've got energy. So it's essential. It's essential that we have this. Well, another look at this shows that when you have beta cell weakness and you're not producing enough insulin, that you can't pull this glucose through a cell wall. Now, there's also other factors with this. The pH factor of an interstitial fluid. You can never forget that pH factors control literally everything in the human body. At one level, as a chemist, I can say the body is nothing but pH factors. Remember, we're talking about duodenal juices. Digestive juices must be 7.5 to 8 or a little above, or you're not activating digestive enzymes and bicarbonate. So what's that? See, so there's a lot to understand about pH, and this is also with cell metabolism, cell wall permeability. pH factors are involved with that. There's all kinds of things we have to look at. The problem is when you start getting too academic about it, you're losing most of the people, including the allopaths, because they don't know either. But in there, those that are doing deeper research, you can find these answers. And that there's no correlation of this except through this channel, maybe some other ones out there, but very few. Whenever we can correlate with you, we will, so you guys will be at the top of your class. So, now we're talking about type 1. Now, try this on for size. Type 1. Fruits. Fructose does not need insulin. I've said this over and over. We've demonstrated it over and over by putting all our type 1s on fruits. What happens to your blood sugar? You might have a few days of going up and down, especially the brittles, things like this. But you will eventually get on down so fast, it's amazing. It will control your blood sugars at a level that's halfway decent. As soon as you have one piece of vegetable, because it's glucose, inferior sugar. And for those that think, the allopathic community thinks that fructose, a simple superior sugar, is taken to the liver, all that energy converted back to glucose again before it's used, is sitting on the toilet with extreme constipation. The body needs, our Homo sapien body is a fructose body. It is the most active form of simple sugar that electrifies man's nervous system, and it's the only food that we can get you out of a wheelchair with. No one gets out of a wheelchair on vegetables. If you do, you had a minor problem. But true quads and paraplegics, advanced MSs and Lou Gehrig's and Parkinson's, I've never seen them be able to do that. We've seen the opposite. We've got them better on fruits, gave them vegetables, and they went back the other way. We've seen this over and over, year after year. And this is my 45th year or something like that. So it's just something we see all the time. And we carry frugivore bodies. Now get this one. One of my clients had hurt her knee, and she had to have 4 surgeries to fix that knee. After the 4th surgery, she walked away with her menses had stopped, and she walked away with type 1 after the 4th surgery. Explain, please. I would like an allopathic physician to explain to me why. If you did not get up on the research from Canada about neurological diabetes, you might have a question about that, especially if you didn't overview the nervous system as the electrical department that turns on literally everything in the human body. there is also neurological diabetes. I'm just using that word in reference to blood sugar problems. There is a neurological feed to the beta cells. You suppress that neurological feed to these cells, you suppress the production of insulin. That's just what 4 surgeries under propofol did to her, the Michael Jackson effect. So we enhanced her nervous system, got her adrenals back up, cleaned all the neurotoxic out of her, and guess what? Not type 1 anymore, and of course her monthly cycles came back and everything was hunky-dory. But you had to understand why. So when we look at type 1s, even type 2s, now get this, the nervous system that is involved in type 1s would be the autonomic. So you're always going to go to the adrenal glands, and all blood sugar problems, no matter what, you're going to always go to those adrenal glands, because even if they had no neurological connection, they still have the lymphatic connection, and that suppression and chewing up of the beta cells. Because blood does not suppress, blood enhances. It's the lymph system and its stagnation that not only suppresses, but terminates. So real important to understand the lymphatic system and the 2 sides of chemistry if you understood nothing else. And the lymphatic system as we teach it, because there's very few out there that understand the system at all. You need those spiritual people that come in that have the overviews to understand it more. They'll catch up someday, but they really need to change the whole system. Can't go on anymore like that. Not at a civilized level. So it's important that you understand in blood sugar problems, you're always going to go on raw fruits, berries, melons, and salads. Except for type 1, I would say on fruits. Let yourself glucose load a little bit, but real careful with your insulins. Because I'm going to tell you, if you've got to watch your insulins, if your medical doctor won't help you, must belly up and take full responsibility. This is your body. Your parents have created it for you. Your mother has given you your lymph system. So pretty much, and when you buy into the thought on this planet, you're buying into trouble. You can see where we're all in trouble with this. So getting smart, learning how to back all this up is important. Backing all this up can take you through the world of excess thinness, dizziness, all kinds of blood sugars jumping and hopping, all kinds of ups and downs on this journey to Wellville. Okay, but Wellville you will go. I've never seen too many people not overcome type 1 or type 2 using that analogy for those blood sugar conditions. There's no condition your body can't overcome and rebuild. There's no cells in it that can be done, given you haven't destroyed your body with chemo or radiation. I mean, when you destroy your body and you buy into this idiocy of, I'm going to take all these acids to ravish my cells, to kill maybe the ones that have been mutated, maybe that'll stop it. Coming from an extreme place of ignorance. Extreme ignorance. And because of that, the death rate is astronomical. If you don't see that, then you just got to spend some time awakening a little bit, because we're in trouble. And there's no sidestepping it or patting it, making, oh, it'll be okay. There is no okay. You're out of time, planet. You're out of time. The Hopis tried to tell you, the Sioux elders tried to tell you, and all I can tell you, spiritual guys have to tell you, you're out of time. This is why this thing is moving faster and faster and faster. And you're going to see it exploding here soon. So important stuff and good stuff, because it means wellness to those that will grow and open up. And it means more stagnation and unconsciousness for those that choose to live that way. But don't fear any blood sugar problems. You know, I had this top homeopathic physician who owns this big college in Portugal, in Lisbon. He had me come over and he said, do you guys in America work on blood sugar problems? And I said, don't you? He goes, oh no, we don't. I said, what? I said, that's simple. These are all simple things to deal with. But if you're on an insulin, you have to be very careful. It is a hormone, and it will shut down your beta cells. So you do have to give yourself some titration issues you have to look at. But always use the least amount of insulin to get by with it. Some of you are running 250s, 350s. You're used to that, and you're asymptomatic. It is not worth, in my opinion, it is not worth going on insulin if you're asymptomatic for the little time it takes to turn this around, in the effect that insulin will weaken the beta cells even more. Some things aren't worth it. And the same thing, you can do metformin or glucophage or something like that. But even if you're asymptomatic, why take anything? Work on your causative problems, change your diet, fix the problem, and you're done. We have plenty of herbs. We have a glucose formula for healthy glucose. Real strong. Be careful with it. It brings the blood sugars down pretty quick. So be real careful. But you want to fix your problems. You know, everybody's raised in a society of treatment-based thinking. Take this for that and this for that. Can't think that way no longer. We can't go there. We're already getting down to the very final stages of human life. The cells are just about done. So we're turning this whole thing around. Sometimes, you know, you have to hit the bottom before you go up, and that's where humans are. They're scuffling in the bottom of the sewer systems. We've got to pick ourselves up and show the beauty of the Homo sapien and the light that it can give, the love that it can give the world of creatures of all levels. So take your rightful place in this. You're all beautiful beings, and understand how simple the human body is designed and the food that's designed for it. That's as simple as it is. You know, all foods are not designed for the humans, like all foods, like fruits aren't designed for cats. Well, meats aren't designed for humans. Neither are grains and beans and all the other crap out there that's dead. You know, what's interesting with the beans and grains, well known to have the highest phytic acid of the foods, and phytic acid in itself blocks absorption. And then that's added on top of enzyme inhibitors who inhibits the enzymatic production or reaction in these foods. That's why they're dormant foods, and we can store them for long times, get that, and then we can germinate them and break those down. But when you consume them that way, just let them soak for about a week. You know, we have all those things of eating dead food. Turn your life around to the vibrancy and health of raw fruits, berries, melons, and veggies. Veggie fruits in particular. And have fun with this. And if your children are working their ways into Wellville, help them. Don't chastise them. Learn what they're up against. Learn the problems that we face in these advanced areas where people are already skinny. It's going to be a little bit to turn you around. Get out of the opinions and the judgments and work with your children and your parents, vice versa. Everybody work together to get each of us well. You know, we sit back and we judge, and we think this big killing machine has all the answers. Rethink. Reawake before it's too late for your own selves. I love you guys. I just wanted to do a quick video on these. Always your diet must change, and always to the raw fruits, berries, and melons. They're the detoxifiers, the nerve enhancers, the tumor busters. Vegetables if you want to build muscle and play that game. You don't want to play that game until you detoxify yourself, though. Herb-wise, definitely want to get on herbs for the kidneys, adrenal glands, the lymphatic systems. Now you're working on the adrenals with sugar metabolism issues. If you want to work on the pancreas, there's pancreatic herbs. By all means, put yourself a hitchhiker formula on that, a pancreatic formula. You're always going after kidneys. You're always going after the endocrine glands, but particularly the adrenals. You're always going after the GI tract, always in each and every case, no matter what. Cold and flu, kidneys, adrenals, lymphatics, GI tract, and endocrine gland. Oh, tumors, kidneys, adrenal, always going that way, because you're hitting the system that'll wake up and clean the whole body and all its cells and enhance the function of those cells. And going after parathyroids and thyroids and pituitaries, yes. Bring balance and all that to the body, but of course. So simple. You know, we've laid out protocols, and there are protocols to get. We write them up for you. I personally write up protocols. We charge you $1.50, but you know, it takes me a lot of time. I look through your blood work and your cases, but you can make your own protocols. Look at some of these beautiful souls that I read. It took 8 weeks, but I got rid of my leukemia. I had MS, and I'm now walking and I'm MS free. I read these all the time. Is that not cool? You guys are tremendous beings, and you can get your wellness journey down. That's just one part of your experience. Let's get that over with and go on to higher things. This is just the physical body, and you guys are so much more, right? Right. I love you guys. You have a great time. If I am deficient in where I didn't cover things, because I just am an intuitive speaker, I don't write things down. I speak from intuition, from what I need to get by and what I think you are giving me. So if I didn't cover something, let me know and we'll get it covered. But have fun on your journey to wellness. Even if you go through the cycles of excessive thinness, don't be afraid to tell the world. And for you young people, don't be afraid to tell your parents why you're getting thin. This problem is a big problem. If you don't understand the lymph stagnation and what that means interstitially, particularly in the walls of the intestines, what is malabsorption? Now, malabsorption and also conclude mucoid plaque on the bowel wall. Easy for that plaque to come off with the herbs and the foods. You'll see that black stuff coming out of your stools. That's mucoid plaque. That's obvious. White flour products are the biggest glue on the planet. That's Gorilla Glue, really, and that really will plaque up the bowel wall. But cleaning that off in the lymph system, then you get absorption. What do you have to worry about next? Remember the 4 phases. If you remember them in every one of your cases, including yourself. Digestion, number 1. Absorption, number 2. Utilization. Am I making adequate hormones and steroids for the utilization of this chemistry I just digested and broke apart and I just absorbed? Can I utilize it? You just don't throw chemistry into the blood. You need hormones and steroids. How's my endocrine glands? Part of the essential need when you're working on yourself is to work on your endocrine glands. They're the bosses. Glands control organs. And then elimination. Am I eliminating the residues? Not digestively, that's obvious. Am I pooping every day? Absolutely. Need to 1 or 2? Absolutely. That's digestive waste. But am I eliminating the metabolitic waste that the blood is delivering to my cells from my cell's food source? Am I removing the byproducts from all this activity from the cell? Am I eliminating that doo-doo out of my body? And that's kidneys and skin. If you see redness all over the skin, you're holding that in. And you're just getting burnt every day, breaking down cells every day. So it's horrible, not to mention the social interaction issues and the anxieties from the adrenals being down. And then if your parathyroid is down because of the same lymph system, there's depression. And you've got depression, anxiety, and skin problems, and you're young, which is what we see a great deal of. You parents got to help your kids. You can't just run into medical doctors and go, I don't know, we'll try a steroid. You've already done that for years. Help your children get well. And the 18-year-old are not children anymore. These are young adults. You help them out to get well. These people are suffering on all levels, and parents are not connecting. You must connect and let them teach you about health sometimes. We're not above learning from our children. So I love you all, and thank you for listening to maybe an old guy ranting on, but we need to help ourselves here, and you guys are doing an incredible job of it. So with great love, to the next video, and I promise I'll do one on Q&A and try to catch up with you. Good luck with that one, but I certainly will try. Love you guys.